Wade Barrett Barrage.
We walk alone in the unknown. We live to win another victory.
Hello there, I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com and welcome to How WWE Should Have Booked, where I look back at infamous WWE missed booking opportunities and talk about how I would book them differently because I'm a smartass. So this week, a lot of people have asked for it, so we're going to look at how WWE should have booked the Nexus invasion. What happens when all the rookies from Season 1 of NXT banded together to form a group that was half Bash Street Kids and half the Nazis. And let's see, you had the leader, you had the high-flying one, you had the really talented one, you had the big one, you had the dumb one, you had the pretty one, you had the really intense one, and then you had David Otunga. In June 2010, NXT invaded. They beat up John Cena, they tore apart the ring, they took apart the announce table, they beat up Bret Hart, the GM, and even Vince McMahon. They were here, they were NXT, and they wanted permanent WWE contracts, and they were going to take them. Over the next few months, NXT ran amok on Raw and SmackDown. They interfered in matches and cost John Cena the title not once, but twice. So this all came to a head at SummerSlam, a big elimination tag match between Cena's team and Barrett's team, and Barrett's team lost to Cena. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Then at Night of Champions, Wade Barrett went up for the WWE title, but despite the NXT guys eliminating Cena, couldn't get the job done. Then at Hell in a Cell, there was a match between Cena and Barrett. If Cena lost, he would have to join the Nexus, and he did lose, and he did join the Nexus. At bragging rights, Barrett faced Orton for the WWE title. If Barrett didn't win, Cena would be in big trouble. Of course, Barrett did win, but by DQ, so Cena got out of big trouble. But then at Survivor Series, the stipulation became more strict. If Wade Barrett did not walk out of Survivor Series with the WWE title, Cena would be fired from the WWE. And indeed, that didn't happen. Cena turned on Barrett, Orton hit him with the RKO, and retained his title. Then Cena, the next night on Raw, actually gave a big kind of, I'm going away, goodbye speech to Raw, which was admittedly about twice as long as it should have been. But then what happened? He came back, of course, and started running amok the very next week on the Nexus members. He beat them up until they were like, Wade Barrett, we really don't want to be beaten up by Cena anymore. Please just hire him back to the company. And Wade Barrett was like, fine. Then Cena beat Wade Barrett at TLC. Wade Barrett sort of lost his power. CM Punk came in to take over the Nexus. Then CM Punk entered a feud with Randy Orton in the lead up to WrestleMania. Randy Orton basically murdered every member of the Nexus, and then finally beat CM Punk there and at Extreme Rules, and the whole thing just sort of went Nexus was really promising. When it started, it was white hot. But it wasn't just bad booking, they were also very unlucky. Daniel Bryan got fired for choking Justin Roberts with his tie, and that was seen as non-PG by the sponsors, and Daniel Bryan was forced to be fired. Then, of course, injuries were beset. Skip Sheffield and Michael Tarver, they both went out with injuries. And also the Nexus would fight amongst each other. Wade Barrett would banish people, he banished Darren Young for no reason, really. And then, of course, they just slowly fell apart. There wasn't enough cohesion in the group. And I can do it better. At the beginning, we don't change anything, apart from the fact we are very clear as to what you can and cannot get away with in PG, so Daniel Bryan doesn't get fired. Also, just as a general rule, if injuries happen, they are treated as injuries, not as people being expelled. Tarver, when he had a groin injury, was expelled by the Nexus. No, that doesn't happen. There is no dissension in the Nexus for the most part of the year. Injuries happen, they're just injured, no one gets kicked out or banished. They are strong, they are a brotherhood. Then, at SummerSlam, that was a pretty easy one, they win! Obviously, Edge and Chris Jericho have come forward saying it was a boneheaded decision for John Cena to win, and probably John Cena even looks back and says, probably dropped the ball there. So Wade Barrett and the Nexus win at SummerSlam. Now, the tricky thing about booking the Nexus is that you sort of have to book them all weekly as individuals. After all, they're all rookies, so they can't go around beating veterans willy-nilly, at least not at first. However, you can push them to the moon as a group because they have an overwhelming numbers game and a common shared goal. So, off the back of his SummerSlam victory, Wade Barrett challenges Randy Orton for the WWE title at Night of Champions, and because of the overwhelming numbers game, he wins. This makes NXT look amazing, so, all the independent prospects want to come to the company, and it also creates headlines because Barrett is winning the title so soon after he debuts. Also at Night of Champions, 2 members of the Nexus win the tag team gold, and they defend them as the Freebird rule. So Wade Barrett's champion, and of course, who's going to stop him but John Cena? He's the face of the company. He's like, you're not going to ruin this company anymore. Hell in a Cell match, you and me, let's go, Jack. The champ is here, etc. So, the stipulation is, if Wade Barrett loses, he loses the championship. If Cena loses, Cena is gone from WWE. Not joining the Nexus, he's fired. Cena loses, and he leaves the company for the rest of the year. I know it's a long shot, but let's just go with it. So what happens as a result of this is Wade Barrett gets victories at Bragging Rights, Survivor Series, and TLC, all down to the Nexus man advantage. And he starts getting bigger and bigger headed. He starts to think that he's getting all of these victories by himself. He's like, I'm the bloody man! Yep, why not? He starts making the members of the Nexus recite a pledge at the beginning of every one of their matches. And this is not a pledge to the Nexus, it's a pledge to Wade Barrett himself. And it's something like, we the Nexus, the bad man with a big nose, British, up the, like that, but catchier. At Survivor Series, the 2 members of the Nexus charged with defending the tag team belts, Daniel Bryan and Justin Gabriel, they lose the belts. They lose them at Survivor Series, and the next night, Wade Barrett orders those guys flogged in public. Basically, the rest of the Nexus have to take their belts and flog Daniel Bryan and Justin Gabriel in front of everybody. And Wade Barrett starts getting the Nexus to do this whenever any of them lose. Whenever any one of them loses a match, the rest of the Nexus have to get together with their belts and flog them, then recite the pledge. So it starts to get a bit tyrannical dictator, a bit culty. At one point, Wade Barrett even breaks David Otunga's wrist for answering him back. So things are getting pretty intense. At the Royal Rumble, Wade Barrett orders every one of the Nexus into the Rumble to ruin the thing and have him not face anyone at WrestleMania. Heath Slater, he gets eliminated halfway through the Royal Rumble, and he walks up the ramp to find Wade Barrett waiting there for him with a steel chair. He destroys Heath Slater and then tells everyone else in the Rumble, that's what's going to happen if you don't win this Royal Rumble, right? Wade Barrett, Barrage, etc. So he takes Heath Slater to the back, his limp body. And Nexus band together, and they're a good team. They eliminate everyone apart from the number 30 slot. And of course, it happens to be John Cena. That's right, he comes back. He's been hired by the company to take out this incredibly toxic Nexus, and he eliminates Skip Sheffield straight off the back. Skip Sheffield goes to the back and again is ruined by Wade Barrett. Wade Barrett takes the mic for it. Right, that's what's going to bloody happen to you guys, right? I'm sick and tired of the Nexus being weak. And the Nexus look at him and they're like, we're not weak. Daniel Bryan, Justin Gabriel, they leave the match. They get out, they just say, we're done with this. We are not following your rule anymore. They eliminate themselves from the Royal Rumble, and Cena eliminates everyone else. So Cena wins the Rumble and is going on to face Barrett at WrestleMania. However, he's still got Elimination Chamber. The Nexus is imploding. Half the Nexus hate Barrett and they're turning babyface, and the other half are still loyal to him. So you have an all-Nexus chamber. All the 6 surviving Nexus members, basically whoever's gone out for injury at this point, all the surviving members in the chamber. Barrett wins. He comes out looking stronger than ever, and he goes into WrestleMania completely by himself. He's gone so tyrannical that all the Nexus members have abandoned him, and it's just him versus Cena. Barrett does better than anyone expects, but John Cena eventually wins, and he becomes the WWE champion. Next night on Raw, The Miz cashes in on John Cena because of interference from The Rock. Lol. So that's how I would book the Nexus. You get a main event heel in Wade Barrett, and then you get mid-card to main event either babyface or heel members of the rest of the Nexus, just depending on how the crowd has responded to each member. Maybe they'll favor Daniel Bryan, maybe Justin Gabriel, who knows? But that's how I would do it. So that was the latest edition of How WWE Should Have Booked. Do you disagree? If so, tell us about it in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And you can even follow me on Twitter. Here, what should we do next? I take requests, tell us about it in the comments. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon.